Okay, welcome everyone on the next session, Leadership Challenge, in a series brought to you by Eco-Civilization and the partner networks, in order to challenge the topic itself and really see what is missing there. Because somehow, whoever we ask says, I don't like the way how world looks today, and I really do not like where the world seems to be going. And leaders has something to do with it. So I prepared some introductory points, which are based on these 5.5 years of eco-civilization movement on a global scale. And that's how this topic emerged anyway, as a result of our discussions. Today's topic is what defines new leaders. And it's really very much appropriate. More and more when we discuss, especially artificial intelligence or whatever we call this more advanced technological development, we somehow see that the whole education system for leadership, all the trainings are pretty much geared for one of the societies that humanity is currently engaging with, which is mostly human-made ecosystems. How to lead communities, companies, but there is so much more. And I can confidently say that we today coexist within three different natures. One which is generic Earth ecosystem, one that human made throughout the centuries until the 1950, that was the other nature called human-made ecosystems. And since 1950, something new started to emerge. We expanded our space within which we engage to virtual space, which is this virtual ecosystem, which I call nature 3. So all these natures are constantly intertwining. But do we really lead them? Are we responsible and aware of them? Are we conscious of them? Well, maybe that's exactly where the challenge lies, the challenge of leadership. Maybe we are too self-centric and too focused on only one dimension, where the other two are happening anyway and are not integrated in the current models, which seem to be very static. And interesting enough, in one of the sessions that Sonja was leading, the message came very strongly through my subconscious that everything around us is in vibration, and there is no way we can understand that because we're trapped in static models and statics points of view. So that message keeps bugging me, and I continue to think about it and see what can we do in order to overcome that and maybe be more engaged and more directly related to what's happening around us. So really briefly, that we set the space within which this session is emerging today. Eco-civilization movement, which has been now in 5.5 years of evolving and emerging, is a disruptive global cluster of people who care. And this is probably one of the most powerful vibes that connects us all. 52 countries as we speak, and so many growing communities in different parts of the world that somehow, without really being able to explain why, precisely, they respond to this call for civilizational transformation and for the joint way forward. So we try to create safe space for engagement, collaboration, and innovation. And as I said, possibly started to sense the emergence of new foundation for the future generation and future civilization. One of the first challenges that came along is that whenever you want to deal with new ideas within old structures and old systems, it gets killed before it can deliver anything. It looks great, it sounds great, but it cannot deliver. So I had this dream Seriously, it was just a dream that woke me up. I say, okay, imagine the structures of the society in slightly different way. And what would that mean for everything that exists today in the society? Imagine that every state and every company, every community consists of different pillars, like society, beings, land, relationships, and consciousness as the primary pillars of life. And instead of chasing the best economical model, maybe we should chase the best society structure and the best communities and evolution of beings or space with a high level of responsibility, and also the balance which sort of leads the universe. So somehow we're getting more and more confident that a new civilizational paradigm is around the corner. New mindset will seek new organizational structures, and we're all invited to imagine. I'm not saying this one is right, but I hope it challenges you that you will try to imagine your own. The existing leadership styles are being seriously challenged, as I said before, and we're invited to rethink without a predefined mindset. So eco-civilization and leadership challenged is somehow a natural development of a topic that we're bringing forward now, and try to get a good sense of how people feel about it from all parts of the world. And that's why I'm so happy. We're going to hear from India, from United States, from UK, but with a great history from Russian society. And Edith, which country are you originally from?
I'm from the Netherlands.
The Netherlands,
Amsterdam,
the vibrant place of where many changes have started, the country of the first global currency ever has been recorded. So, and of course, Slovenia. So this really it's exciting a moment to come forward with the new insights and challenges. So the purpose of the Year of Challenge for 2025 is first raise the awareness, challenge the concepts, dare to go beyond, and then imagine and practice. And this is where we hope next year we'll have more focus on. The whole Year of Leadership Challenge, as I mentioned before, has been brought to you by 4 different networks. And today we are in the great hands of Andrea Kudrin, founder and director of Quantum. And please take a look at her CV. I'm not going to go through it, but it's so many exciting things that she's done in her life. And that's why we love to engage with her and see how we can go beyond what we know today. The good thing is that all the texts that are emerging, ideas of those participants that are willing to share their concepts, we will publish next year in the new book. This will be the 3rd in the series of eco-civilization books called Leadership Challenged, and it will come in the first half of 2026. You can see a little bit already the design, and this will emerge the first year. Besides the Leadership Challenged, we are also every month taking a deeper look at mental health. Somehow they are very closely related, as we see it more and more. And the next session of mental health is cultivating radiant well-being, self-care practices from mental health. This is already the 7th in the row, and it's going to be on the 24th of September. The next session on Leadership Challenged will be October 8th, and it will be how to lead global networks, how to engage with them and deliver value. So I hope I set a little bit the stage, gave you a bit of provocative thoughts and encouragements, but feel safe and feel loved and supported. So go ahead. Let us hear what's your side of the story. Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Violeta. If you allow me to share my presentation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I hope that you can see it in the full screen. It's okay?
Yes.
Okay.
It's good.
So Violeta already provided a big frame, and nothing could be added to this theme and discussion, although let's emphasize the circumstances that we are living these days. So today, all my free video sessions with some leaders around Europe with very particular problems, like in Serbia, when they still have those protests, the riots. Even now the police is more and the military is more on the streets, but the general answer was, well, it is like all around the world, because we are really living in very special and particular period of the time that almost there is no place on the earth that is not facing these days with either weather or climate change disturbances or the political or economical at the end of the day. And the shifts are dramatic, in particular for us being in the safe zone in Europe for many decades. And now we need to learn the things that some other parts of the world are more resilient towards that. So today's panel was envisioned to make mosaic of different panelists that are bringing very different perspective to this topic. It's not really gender balance. I'm very happy that Nate is taking the part that somehow we are covering the both two genders, but I'm in particular thinking that it is not only philosophical or systemic discussion, but also coming from the bites from the people, experts who are working directly, not only with the systems, not only with the businesses, but also with the people, with the individuals, because this is where the change and the state of the leadership is at the end reflected. So who are today panelists is our dear friend Sonja Klopčič, not only the leadership developer, author, advocate of AEIOU leadership, but also with extensive leadership and management experience before she went on the path to be very fruitful author on the leadership. Welcome, Sonja. Then is Sanchita Gairola, also our dear friend from India, a strong advocate for the sustainable transformation, a consultant, founder, and a system thinker. And what I in particular like working with her, she always find a way how these big words about the sustainability, about the resilience would find a place in the daily operational environment, because it is one thing to preach and to imagine in the secure environment, and then when you need to go to the floor of the factories and of the companies. Marina Demchenko, a very fruitful member of this community. We listened to her several times, but today she really has an amazing topic that we will discuss. So we are all looking forward to hear about that. Then our Edith Doosje from the Netherlands, the founder of the Compassion Company, and taking some of her assessments, I would say it's not only about the compassion, it is really about the resilience, how to survive, how to improve the leadership, but also starting with yourself on the personal level. And in this correlation, we really are honored that also the founder, the author, the expert behind this compassion movement, Nate Regier, is also joining us from the US today. So a short warm-up, because I think that we need to place our discussion in the context also to some very recent news. And I must say, the book that really changed my academic life was The Limits to Growth. I'm happy, Alexander, Laszlo, I have seen you now among the participants, and we know what the Club of the Rome done. And just recently, a few weeks ago, it was published the KPMG study in the Yale Journal of the Industrial Ecology that find out that all the models, I think it was the word frame model that was used in 1972 for this limits to growth model, is strikingly aligned with the findings when they take the retest of the data. So what does it mean? It means that we are on the track without any change. The global civilization is heading toward a free fall, economic decline, and they are estimating that this will happen around the 2040. So although many things, many steps has been done since the 1972, apparently the curve didn't change even for, you know, those 3%, 5%. So we are really on the path going towards this decline. So a very short and welcoming questions to all of the panelists. What happened? Are the leaders solving the right problems these days? Sonja, to start with you.
To start with me.
Yes.
People, leaders need to be focused on people first. And this is how we will start to solving the challenges of our time. And if, Andrea, is this also the invitation for me to continue with my thoughts?
This was intended as the warm-up question to all of the participants, just to set the tone then for the others. So basically, you know, the question is really why nothing happened? Why, with so many good initiatives, with many organizations, NGOs, individuals, changes in the personal life of us, you know, but yet still no impact, no contribution. We are still in the line, in the trend to reach this collapse of our economic society by 2040.
I believe that because we are still focusing on short-term goals and forgetting about what is good for the society, for the planet, and for generations to come.
Okay. Marina, anything to add?
Well, I would like to, first of all, happy to see you all, and it's a great honor to be today at this panel. First of all, I would like to maybe reframe the very question, because if leaders are solving or doing anything, that's sort of one perspective. But I would like to reframe it to the understanding of what we are believing in, what are our mindsets, what we believe is right, and how do we understand ontologically our role as leaders, as humans, as planetarians, earthlings, so as living beings. And in this case, I think that this second question comes out, that I like this Violetta's picture of three natures: social nature, natural nature, so our environment, our planet, and virtual nature, virtual environment. And I would suggest us to rethink if we not see it as three overlapping circles, but three nested, one in one sort of concentrical circles. And in this case, we understand that we all live in natural environment. We all live on our planet, and everything that we do, including virtual spaces or any other technologies, we are bounded on this place, on this earth, on this planet. So this is the biggest circle. When we understand that within this planet, we are not the only one, and maybe then we are not the main and the most important ones, living beings on this planet, but we also have this nested circle of of human nature. And human nature is not bounded, but rather influenced by the virtual nature. But again, we are a little bit wider than only virtual systems, despite of the fact that thanks to this virtual nature, we have the opportunity to speak with you from different parts of our wonderful planet and be together here virtually. So if we see it as a nested system, I think in many Slavic countries, but in Russia especially, we have this matryoshka, to many dolls which are put one into another. So I think that this is a very good metaphor of nestedness and of interconnectedness. And when we understand that we are not separate circles, but we are nested, we are ecosystemic, we are the ecosystem. In this case, we understand that if we are doing something or solving some problems, we are not only influencing our own lives, our own benefits, or maybe our own organizations or our own places or cities or even countries. We are influences the whole planet. We are influences bigger systems into which we are nested, to which we belong. So in this case, I think that the most dangerous illusion is that we are separate, that we are disconnected from different parts. And if we reimagine our role and our structural system of belonging, this will really help us redefine what should be done and what areas we influence and how we can rethink our role on the planet.
Thank you, Marina. Would Edith or Nate, would you like to add?
Yeah, thank you for these inviting words, and I'm already thinking along with this co-centrical system, because I would say in the question, are today's leaders solving the right problems? There are two elements in there that we love to believe. So it's the dangerous illusion that we can solve problems by itself. Whereas I think it's not about solving the right problems, but being able to navigate through the uncertainty that we face in this world. And the illusion is that we can, and he said, isolate certain problems and say, okay, so we're now going to do that. And then we have, so this is the problem, this is how we're going to do it. And then that is the way that it will go. And if you look back, like a few decades ago, and I was trained in the corporate world, then we had this system of, we have a goal, we want to get there, and we have a plan to come there. You need all kinds of resources, you have a budget, just to make it like more an entrepreneurial level. And I think today's world is so uncertain and is moving from all directions, like you already shared as well, Andrea, and also we heard from the 3 Nature system from Violetta. So I would say for the first question, it's not about solving the right problems. It's about looking differently at where we are at. And there's this wonderful saying I heard in one of the podcasts that Nate hosted: leadership is not a position, but it's an activity. And so the illusion that leaders need to drop, I think, is I'm in this position and I need to take control and I can control it. No, I would say step into the system, as Marina is also inviting. Make sure that you realize it is a system and that you will not be able to maybe see the whole problem, but step by step, engaging other people to join the movement. That's where I think leadership needs to go to make the changes that we need.
Very good. Thank you, Edith. Nate,
Welcome.
would you like to add in addition to what Edith just explained?
Sure, thank you. Boy, Marina, I love what you said about the illusion that we are separate. And that really comes down to how we view compassion. And that is, that's a big part, I think, of our ability to survive and thrive, is how we see compassion. So one of the things that I'll share about later whenever I show my slides is a redefinition and a transcending our old understanding of what compassion is. I think we see it so limited. We've barely tapped the potential, our human potential for compassion. And one of the most dangerous illusions has to do with how we view conflict. And I want to share more about that later. But in both cases, it really has to do with getting rid of the myth that we're separate. when it comes to compassion, when it comes to conflict, we are in it together. And how we navigate those spaces, I think, can determine so much about whether we will thrive or whether we will destroy ourselves.
Very timely, Nate, in particular with what is happening here in the world these days, you know, so extremely important. Last but not least, Sanchita.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here today. Such an important conversation. Andrea, regarding the first part, are today's leaders solving the problems? I feel many leaders are solving problems, but not always the right ones. Too often, the energy is spent firefighting symptoms, quarterly numbers, reputational risks, compliance checklists. That happens with me as well. So it's coming from a very practical point of view, rather than addressing structural issues most of the time, widening inequities, ecological thresholds, eroding trust in institutions. Sometimes, if I talk about my ecosystem, my part of the world, these things do become very difficult to address because you are actually firefighting the symptoms. So leadership today needs the courage to pause and ask, are we designing for the next quarter or for the next generation? The right problems are rarely the urgent ones screaming for attention. They are the quieter, transformational ones shaping our collective future. And as far as the second part is concerned, I believe that one illusion is equating business with effectiveness, leaders drowning in activity while starving for reflection. Another is the myth of the solitary hero leader, what I feel Marina also touched upon, when in truth, the challenges of our century, climate inequality, digital disruption, can only be met through distributed collective intelligence. So leadership must shift from I to we, from being the smartest in the room to being the one who creates a room where others can be smart together, probably. So this is my take on it.
Excellent. And you just touched the point how I place these two questions, because for me, the illusion itself is in the first question, are only the leaders solving the right problems and what is their authority to solve the right problems? Because this is really not on one person, this is on us. And one of the most deflated powers that we have are the power as the consumers, even more than as the voters, because every day we took some decisions which are usually very opposite to everything what we do on the some activism part, or even in the business part, if it's really sustainable. So yes, although the whole year was dedicated to the leadership challenge, one of the things is also the question about what is the role of the leadership, and basically can this kind of the leadership that is focused on one person or on a very close circle of the people can still be valid in the time of the such rapid change and the chaotic situation what we have these days, and in general when the whole civilization is combating with the limits of the planet, not only the limits of the growth anymore. So after this warm-up, I would like to ask Sonja to start with you. Which traditional leadership quality has, from your perspective, you're very experienced in the leadership and in management, has already expired? And which new quality will be absolutely non-negotiable for the leaders to both mitigate the risk ahead and still survive the daily demand of the business today?
A lot of traditional leadership qualities have expired. For example, a quality to optimize everything for your organization, no matter what this causes to other stakeholders and so on. But I would stress one quality that was already mentioned, the belief that you are here to solve everything and that you need to have all the answers, because this is not possible. And this needs to go away and make the space for a new quality that is needed right now. The ability to really support collective intelligence. And when I'm talking about collective intelligence, it means, yes, including all people, various viewpoints, but not just people, included also other intelligences, systemic intelligence, intelligence of the nature, artificial intelligence. So this is co-creating with all intelligences. This is something that I see is needed for the future.
What among the qualities you mentioned, what do you see that the management is the most reluctant to embrace? And the leaders, of course.
I see a very practical problem to be engaged in a dialogue. Because when you are engaged in a dialogue, you are eager to hear different perspectives. And when people come together and are really prepared to share, something new can emerge. But this something new requires also a suspension of your ideas, requires also a silence, because something new needs to be born. And this is, for leaders and managers, sometimes so difficult. So difficult to wait and see what can emerge from the collective. I see this as one of the obstacles, because we are trained to have the answers. We are not trained to be patient that the new answers from the new quality will emerge.
How do you think that, because you mentioned the silence, the patience, I would also add the regeneration. In the past, previous civilization took the time for the celebration, which we also found with the quintum diagnostics, that the majority of the organization are just skipping, even before.
Because we are in hurry.
Even before we see the results, they are already in the new cycle. But on the other side, the managers and the leaders, they have owners, shareholders, customers, the part of economical system, which is heading towards the wrong situation, although it is still, paying bread and butter to majority of the people. So what is this elasticity of the management that they can react within such circumstances?
I think that they need to create their own elasticity, to have the courage to sometimes also forget the quarterly targets and do what is the best for all stakeholders, not just for one. Current system doesn't allow this elasticity. I'm aware of this. That's why we need role models who will say very loudly that this path is leading us towards disaster. We all see this, we all feel this, but still we are playing business as usual. And we need people that will be courage enough to play unusual business that will support life, not that life supports business as we are used to.
What you're referring to is very much aligned to the change of the mindset and even the consciousness, individual, collective, you know. But John posed a very good question. Do we have time? Because the data that I referred at the beginning, it's very serious data. So basically, they need to align multiple computers. In the 1972, it was MIT behind. And now the check of the data revealed that, you know, nothing happened, really nothing happened. And it is what? It is close to 50 years that we lost. So now we have only 15 years to react. And do you think it is enough time or not?
What's the other alternative? We can say we are already too late and we can start trying to do something. So I think, yes, until we breathe, we have time. And it's worth to change our behavior.
That's true, but looking to the human psychology, when we react when we are seriously ill or we are seriously affected by some floods. And if I give the example that we both know very well from Slovenia 2 years ago, and really devastating floods for more of the half of the country. But 2 years later, the same people that has been affected are still behaving on the way that is completely unsustainable.
Yes, a lot of things happens when we are faced with a catastrophe. And I still believe that we are able to respond also from love, not just from fear. And this is something that is needed, mostly needed now that we are raising the awareness and we are starting to act from love to our descendants as well. Because when we think what legacy would we love to leave to them, I think from this point of view, we will start to act differently.
Very good points. It reminded me more than 10 years ago. You remember when I funded collaborative youth open innovation platform Challenge Future and engage really the youth, like 60,000 per year all around the world, to find their own solutions on the challenges, and that to see how these accumulate together, how we are not only collaborating, co-working, but also coexisting. And yet, at the end, a very wise person told me, I'm putting the light where there is already the light, not in the dark. So although you can see a lot of people, even the leaders and the managers, you know, this is many cases are all around the world. But still, the core, if we say that this is the darkness, but this is the capitalistic system, it is still existing, not only in the full scope that already the Peter Drucker, guru of the management, emphasized that this is not possible to continue, but I would even say is go even beyond. You know, sometimes they use the resources, then they use the printing of the money. Now everything is used already on the cyber, the intranet level, you know, with that. So the scope, how the people are allowed to be somehow chained, not only with the money, but what is absorbing their energy, like just being the consumers and watching the so-called stupid TV series, you know, not thinking about the other things. So how this light, which is fueled by the love that you said, because of course it must be the love from you to the love to the society and the planet, but those are the people that are already on the path. They have the consciousness, they are aware. But it seems that rather we are splitting to two streams coexisting at the same time on the planet, but this hard dark core is not changing. Although can speak very nice words about the sustainability, resilience, the corporate social responsibility, recycling, etc., etc.
Andrea, you are asking me the question that I would love to have the answer, really, because also this dark side of the business is led by people. And if we would have people with higher awareness in this part of the business, of course, their offer would not be the same as it is. So the question is how to promote leaders who are not creating success just for themselves, but who are committed for collective outcomes. How to promote leaders who convey different qualities than just earning. This is the question that I would love to have the answer.
Thank you, Sonja. Very beautifully you wrap up one of the essence of the problems. Edith and Nate, may I now come to you with the question, what do you think? What is the most dangerous illusion leaders still carry about themselves? So one that prevents them from seeing the systemic risk ahead.
Edith, should I share my first slide while you give an
Please.
introduction?
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think this will be the time where we can talk about this. And I'm so happy that we talk about this bad moment in society, actually. And I share the concerns. And what I feel in the panel as well is like we're really yearning for like a solution to like what is the one thing that we can do with all the trouble that we see. And the way that I try to solve it for myself and in the work that I do is actually what Sonja also said. It's in the end, it's the people that make the decisions that set the tone for that human part of society. And when we look at leadership, I think one of the biggest challenges leaders have is to be themselves with all the fears and all the vulnerability and all the strength at the same time. And it's been a journey for me too, as a leader, as a trainer for leaders, as an entrepreneur. How do I put all these big issues into what am I going to do today to make the difference? And for me, that has been the key and the goal in my life, to bring more compassion, because we already said that the system is really focused on results, on getting more and more economic results. And we see since 2016 that welfare and well-being, they used to go like parallel, but since 2016, well-being is going like that and welfare is going there. And then the planet is probably going here. What is it that I can influence? That is my mindset and my behavior, because that is, for me, one of the leading phrases that I work with now with the leaders. Because I think leaders need to delegate, because we can't do it all themselves, ourselves, and we need to bring people together. But there's one thing that you cannot delegate as a leader. One thing. And that is your own behavior. So if we talk about role models, and if we talk about making a change, I think it always starts step by step. And one of my tools that I have in me is that I learned to show up even if I find it very difficult to be open and vulnerable and to navigate through the difficulties by embracing the conflict. And that's why I'm so happy that I'm here with Nate, because that is not easy, but so necessary to help leaders, not only because we know it's difficult, but how are we going to make a first move in making it a clearer path or feeling that we can influence it for the better. So Nate, I'm happy that you're here with me, with us. Will you share your vision on this?
Thank you. Thank you, Edith. And it is a joy. It's a joy to know you. It's a joy to and hope to see all of the positive energy in Europe and beyond. This is a picture from a couple years ago in Amsterdam, near Amsterdam, with some of our global network of trainers. Our mission is to bring more compassion and accountability to every workplace in the world as a way of transformation. And your question was so good, Andrea. What are we solving the right problems? And I want to share with you a conversation that I have with leaders every day. And this is a paraphrase of a conversation that happens over and over and over. They come to us and they say, we have trust problems and we need help. And so I ask them, how do you know this? That's a good sales question, right? How do you know this? And they say, well, because we avoid conflict. Nobody wants to have the hard conversations. But I'm not satisfied with that answer. So I asked them, how is this a trust problem? And this is where they reveal their mindset. They say, well, we learned that trust comes before conflict. And you have to build a foundation of trust in order to have healthy conflict. So logically, it makes sense. We don't have enough trust yet. Here is the mindset. The mindset is that conflict is a withdrawal from the trust bank account. That in order to have conflict, we must first have so much trust because conflict is the enemy. It is the withdrawal from the bank account. And so we set out to try to understand how prevalent is this mindset. And so we did some research. We just finished a study of 400 leaders across the world, all levels within all size organizations. And one of the questions we asked them is this very question, is which comes first? Does trust come first to have healthy conflict, or can conflict be a catalyst for building trust? Anybody want to guess how many people picked each one? Well, here's the data. 85% of leaders believe that you have to have trust first before you can do conflict. Only 15% of leaders believe that conflict could be a trust-building activity. So where did we learn this? Where do we learn to think of conflict this way? Well, I tell you where I learned it. I learned it from Lencioni in the 5 dysfunctions of a team. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this model, but it's pretty popular. Absence of trust comes first, and that leads to fear of conflict. So this is where we've learned it. Until we have enough trust, we can't do conflict, but we can't do conflict until we have enough trust. It's a vicious cycle. Now, Society for Human Resource Professionals, SHRM, is starting a big civility movement. Great intentions. And I got this email the other day from SHRM, and they said, you can do an assessment and meet with one of our advisors, and you will learn how to stop conflict before it spreads. Right there, the implication is conflict is the enemy. And then we can rebuild trust, and then we can hold leaders accountable. How? How can this possibly work if we see conflict as the enemy? So here's the consequences we're experiencing. In our study, leaders say they spend over 30% of their day dealing with conflict now. However, only 50% deal with it if they have to, but they don't like it and they avoid it if possible. And 72% will compromise in order to avoid the conflict. So our relationship with conflict is fraught, it's unhealthy, it's dysfunctional. Global leadership forecast from DDI, another amazing study, showed that for the first time in the history of this study, trust in immediate managers has fallen below trust in senior leaders. It's easy to not trust leadership. Nobody trusts leadership, but we tend to trust our immediate managers because we see them, we work with them every day. We believe mostly they have our best intentions in mind. Further on in that study, they deciphered that this trust rests heavily on the conflict skills of the leader, but less than 50% of employees trust their supervisor's ability to lead through conflict, to navigate conflict without negative consequences. So here's the bright side. There is a silver lining, is that 91% of these leaders believe that conflict is somewhere part of the equation, somewhere it fits in, but only 50% are confident in their own ability to embrace it as a positive catalyst. So that leads to the essential dilemma. This is what I believe is the core problem that we are not getting right. This is the number one conflict that every leader faces every single day. They can never get away from it. We can never escape it, and it only is amplified under pressure. So John, your question, do we have time? Because the pressure is on and time is running out. So what is this essential dilemma? It's epitomized by these statements that we hear every day. I'm not sure if you hear this. You can't be someone's boss and friend at the same time. If you show vulnerability, people will take advantage of you. That's the prevailing mindset right now. Oh, I don't want to be a jerk, but we need to get stuff done, which is basically saying I'm going to be a jerk and it's justifiable because we have to get stuff done. And it goes on and on. As a parent, I told my children, I'm just practicing tough love. And that was after I did something I was not proud of. So here's the essential dilemma. The number one conflict is relationships versus results. Sonja, you said it. We have to put people first. And so we're torn every single day between compassion and accountability. That's a number one conflict. And it's not that this is a problem, it's how we approach it. And I think the biggest barrier to flourishing is the false belief that compassion and accountability are opposites, that they're in tension, that you can't have both. And here's what happens when we choose. When we choose accountability without compassion, we get things done, but we create negative cultures that can't keep people. When we choose compassion over accountability, we create avoidant cultures that can't perform because we don't have the hard conversations. We don't talk about the real difficult issues, and we don't come together with vulnerability like Edith mentioned. So here's the big idea where I think we need to be focusing is conflict is not the problem. Conflict actually might be the solution. It could be a catalyst for greater trust. So how? And that's where I want to share with you, my belief is that our solution is to reframe our view of conflict and learn new skills for using conflict as a trust-building catalyst instead of to destroy our world. So I want to share with you very quickly a few kind of principles of this conflict paradigm that we've developed. First of all, conflict is natural, it's inevitable, and it's an abundant source of energy. It exists because of differences. If there wasn't for diversity in the world, we would have no conflict. So the purpose of conflict is to create. I firmly believe that the purpose of conflict is to create, not to destroy. And it represents such an incredible opportunity for us to build or break trust and to make transformative changes or to destroy ourselves. But the primary conflict anyone deals with is the tension between preserving relationships and driving for results. And if we choose one or the other, we break trust. And so compassionate accountability is the belief that the two can come together and must coexist. And so it requires new skills for leaders. And our framework in order to do this is we have to have very clear terms. What do we mean by conflict? What do we mean by compassion? What are the observable behaviors that tell us that we're moving in the right direction or moving away? We have to have a good assessment that can show us the prevalence and the frequency of these behaviors. We have to have a great template to do conflict that generates. We have to have accountability rubrics so that we can know if we're doing it, help each other out, hold each other accountable, and support each other. And we have to link it to things that matter, the KPIs, the long-term goals. I love what you said, I think, Marina, where are we designing for the next quarter or the next generation? I just want to end by sharing with you an assessment we've been working on that we're using to try to get a sense of this for the world. We created a validated assessment that measures 27 items that contribute or detract from generative conflict. It generates 14 indices and a complete map for how a person or a group or an entire system negotiates that tension. And there's one number that shows the health of the culture. It's called the Drama Resilience Index. And it's the ratio between compassion and drama. In other words, are we using conflict as a creative force or a destructive force? And we map it on the continuum of flourishing, where this is based on 17,000 data points globally. These are the numbers that indicate where we stand. And so basically, in our view, we have one choice every day, but there's two trajectories depending on the choice we make. We can choose to see relationships and results as opposites. Compassion and accountability as opposites. And if we buy into that myth and we choose one over the other, we start to engage in conflict that destroys. That's drama. And we see where that ends. Or we can use conflict as a generative force with compassion and accountability. And with one number, we can see where we are, have insight, and have a path forward to track the impact of our changes at an individual level, at a systemic level, at a global level. And so right now, we've collected 16,000 assessments, and the global Drama Resilience Index right now is 1.46. This is in the danger zone. So you're probably not surprised. This is what we've been talking about here today, is that we are not solving the right problems. And the biggest illusion is that we see compassion and accountability as opposites, and we see conflict as the enemy. And so our assessment, actually, I want to share it with you all today, and you can share it. It's free, and it generates, anyone can go find out their Drama Resilience Index and 3 core compassion skills for being able to walk into that space and completely transform how we see conflict and how we see the tension between relationships and results. And I'll put that in the chat here in a little bit, and you can share it afterwards. So thank you very much, Edith. Anything you want to say just to wrap that up?
No, thank you for being so elaborate on what it means to make a choice as a leader. And I think that is what I learned and what I see in my leaders as well. If you embrace conflict as a positive element, and rather than fueling the opposite, say, okay, I stand here in my truth, that requires vulnerability and self-management. And that is one of the skills I think leaders, any leaders, it's also personal leaders, group leadership, need to move forward in this quite chaotic status where we are as a society. So thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you, Nathan and Edith. And I must say, I think that I done this assessment, correct, Edith?
You did, yeah.
I was very happy with my results. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
and what I think, one thing I would like to add, because we feel often that we don't have a choice due to pressure, and the choice, that the limitation in choice we feel has to do with the skills that we have, with the mindset that we have on the situation, any situation. It can be my dog falling in the canal yesterday and I thought, whoa, and I can freak out, or I can think, okay, I'm happy that somebody pulled her out. It can be like a huge sustainability project that I have to face. And I'm like, oh, we're never going to solve this, or we need to do it now. And I increase the pressure. But one of the biggest chefs in the Netherlands said, nobody ever went and became a better cook by yelling at them. So by polarizing, no, the choice is, am I choosing people and results together from an open mind and vulnerability? And that's the choice.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Thank you.
I might just add really quick that it's so easy to get discouraged about how big the problem is, and that we can't change everyone, and how much time do we have, but it always starts here. And I believe that the energy that we put out into the world has huge ramifications, and every interaction is an opportunity, even with ourselves inside, is an opportunity to change the flow of energy in the world. And so when we can take that conflict, maybe like martial arts, and use that energy to build and build and build, the ripple effects go out long distances. And I think it makes a bigger difference in the world than we can even imagine. And we don't have to lose hope.
Thank you, Nate. Let's now switch to Marina. I think that the topic we are really waiting with some expectation for the alignment The question is, what does it mean for a leader personally to take responsibility at the intersection of human, natural, and technological elements? And before you will get your few minutes, just I would like to share what happened to me this week. One of our clients, which has also the office in Slovenia, call us because Quintaum is doing this very holistic diagnostics. And they said if we can come to help them because they have very strange situation with the performance assessment and the performance interviews. And I asked what happened, and they said this is a very sophisticated Swiss UK IT company, and they have very sophisticated AI that is tracking everything what their employees are doing. So basically the HR manager who sits in Vienna called here the office in Ljubljana and said, look, you must do with one of your colleagues something because the AI indicated that he's fully unmotivated and that he's fully unengaged, and the forecast is he's not a very good team member. And then the Slovene manager said, yes, but this person has 3 months ago the car accident and he is in hospital and he is working from the hospital on those tiny bites of the time that is available for him. So basically he is very motivated and engaged, but he's not sitting in the office. So this is when the AI took the control of the overall communication and the management system within. So Marina, please, you have a few minutes.
Thank you so much for this idea and this introduction. And it's so important. Maybe it is not related to what I wanted to say, but just a couple of words to connect to your story. I think that it's really important for us to understand that AI cannot fully substitute the person, because it can't see and can't, first of all, it can't feel, and it can't understand what is really going on. And in this case, it's really great that we have now these AI technologies to delegate some simple tasks and to have the AI as an assistant, maybe as an intern to which you are delegating some simple tasks, but it's definitely not the sort of person who would do the job for you or do the assessment for you or make the vital decisions for you, because otherwise we can see how it works in practice. So yes, it can help. And you know, I read a book about using the AI for children and adolescents in education, and I liked this idea that AI is an exoskeleton for our cognitive skills. So it's not the substitution of our mind. It's not the substitution of our cognitive capacities. It's mostly the enhancer. It can help us do something quicker. It helps us maybe to formulate proper questions in order to find proper answers. But it definitely is not a substitution for our capacity to think, to feel, and to live ultimately. So yes, that's really important. And again, speaking about the conflict, I wanted to connect to this idea that it's really important for us to understand the point of reference to the conflict, because what is important for the relationships between person to person might be not so significant for the relationships between, for example, organization and organization, or maybe in planetarian scale. Our problem, our conflict might be not so vital and so important. And if we can practice these different points, sort of looking through different lenses, from different points of view, it helps us feel differently towards different situations which are taking place. And in this case, I wanted to share to continue my idea on before starting solving something or doing something, we need to think and to work with our mindsets. And that's absolutely fantastic idea of working with our approaches to trust and conflict and many other dilemmas, both in the organizations and in the communities and between countries. We see it sort of every day. And at the same time, I understand that if we are working only with our rational perceptions, this might not work, because if you tell somebody, be a good leader, be compassionate, practice love. So if you can't feel it, if you can't experience it, if you don't have reference points, you will not be able to understand, and you will do it mechanically. And we see lots of leaders who are doing mechanically good things without feeling it. And in this case, I wanted to share our approach, which we use in Living Cities Action Research Ecosystem research work, in working with the local leaders and leaders of local communities. We invite people before looking for some answers. We invite them to be humble enough to listen and to ask right questions. And those questions might be asked not only through the lens of a person in some specific particular situation, but also through the lens of different layers or levels of probability, referring to our friend Alexander Laszlo, who is speaking about different layers or levels of syntony. So we can reconnect and to look through different lenses and to experience these different feelings and approaches to the situation through the lens of connecting to our inner self, to our virtues, to our best version of ourselves, as we can say. Then we can connect to the higher self, to our purpose, to our contribution to the world, through the lens of why I am living, not just why I am doing this or that today in the morning, but why I am living as a living being. Then to connection with others, to the ethics of their organization, to the ethics of the community where people live. So what would my organization say? What would my family feel like? What would my maybe local community, how it would perceive this or that problem or this or that situation? Then connecting to their non-human beings. And that's absolutely another perspective of understanding how would this forest feel? How would the place where I was born feel about what we are doing in this place? And what would the whole ecosystem look like if I am making such or such decision? And what would planet say? And in this case, that's very interesting that I didn't know it. And some of our colleagues from New Zealand shared that they officially personalized the mountain and the river. So it is documentary, there is a document which personalized as a living being the mountain. And what would our mountain or our river say? And that's another perspective. And through this lens, we can not only imagine or sort of find some right decisions, but we can feel, we can experience through the lens of different people. And if we refer to the indigenous wisdom, for example, we know that there is a, maybe not decision-making, but coming to some conclusions through the lens of 7 generations. What would my ancestors say? What would my descendants, what would my grandchildren say about this situation? And again, through the lens of the spiritual connection and understanding this humility and connectedness to the cosmos, to the whole living beings. And yes, it's difficult, but through this practice, through this allowance ourselves to not just to be some person in some specific situation, but to expand our perceptions, to expand our understanding of reality. And again, speaking about this hierarchical nestedness of different wider systems to which we belong. This helps us to look differently at the place, at the urban planning, at the decision-making, at some management solutions, at planetarian issues. And again, we can say that we have no time or we are afraid of some consequences. And I liked Sonja's idea of we should act with love. And love is timeless. So when we are speaking about connectedness to bigger systems, to our ancestors, to our children, to the whole planet, to the whole cosmos, there is no time at all, because we don't have it, but because we are timeless. So in this case, I think that this approach can help a lot in reframing, first of all, our lenses of perception of reality, and at the same time, refilling, reconnecting, relating, re-evaluating what is going on with us. And through this felt experience, you know, when you meditate, when you have some altered states of mind, you start look differently at your life. So in this case, you can just practice some reimagining yourself as a mountain, as a planet, as a whole organization, as a grass beneath your feet. And this can give a leader different perspective, very practical solutions through the different lenses of perception. So I think that this might be a good practice, and it worked great with our partners in different countries. And we are trying to collect stories about these different perceptions, different approaches, different practices, indigenous, traditional, how people, how our ancestors dealt with these problems. And yes, maybe the technological challenges are different in comparison to sort of older times, but we are still humans. We are still with this, dealing with the same lifelong problems. So
beautifully, Marina, thank you. I found my business story inside when you explain all these perspectives, although we must be honest that there are not many, in particular in the business community, if and when you would share that you are trying to embed all these aspects into something what they are still in the tunnel, and to see very narrow part of the picture, but therefore it is also this fear from them when the light is coming on the overall picture, and they see the parts that they have never been faced in the past, and basically they don't know how to react and what to do. So thank you. Because I would stop here, and I'm sure that there are many questions, but we still have Sanchita. Sanchita, please, the time is yours on the question about what you already mentioned at the beginning, and this is this alignment within the long-term goals and the short-term value creation, or the short-term pressure. The short-termism is something that is on the table in the leadership for the past 2 decades, and again, it is not really that we would be able to say that a lot of things change, and this is quite the outdated model of the success, yet it is still very much embedded to the leadership. So what is your perspective on this?
First of all, Andrea, I already feel so enriched, you know, so much wisdom has already flown. And coming at this juncture, you know, it's like you have listened so much, you're already brimming with ideas and creativities. And, you know, when I talk, I always put myself in those shoes. And it's already an everyday juggle where you want to be a good leader, believe in that long-term value creation. And then at the end of the day, you are a human. So you falter, you come back that you planned for something, and then you actually behaved like nothing. You know, you didn't do anything, and you were just stuck in the everyday rut. But coming back to your question to me, aligning leadership with long-term value creation requires nothing less than a recalibration of the compass by which organizations navigate. So too often, value is collapsed into the narrow arithmetic of quarterly earnings or market capitalization. And believe me, I'm talking from my own, as I said, everyday juggle, because this is what we do for us and for our clients. Yet, if we pause and observe history, we see that empires, companies, even civilizations have not collapsed because they failed to maximize profit margins. They collapsed because they failed to preserve trust. ignored ecological boundaries and eroded the dignity of their people. So what does long-term value truly looks like to me? It's measured in the resilience of our ecosystems, the continuity of cultural and social capital, and the strength of that trust that organizations hold with the societies around them. And it is about designing governance systems that reward stewardship over opportunism, where patient capital, ethical trade-offs, and transparency are not afterthoughts, but built into the DNA of decision-making. So in practice, this means embedding intergenerational thinking at the very center of leadership. Imagine if every boardroom decision ended with one simple question: if my grandchildren were stakeholders at this table, would they thank me for this choice? Or would they inherit the costs of my short-termism? So that single lens could transform how we think about resource use, labor practices, innovation pipelines, and even financial reporting. Long-term value also requires rejecting the false binary that people, purpose, and profit must compete with one another. So the truth at the end of the day is that the most resilient organizations are those that design these dimensions as part of one architecture, where financial growth is not pursued at the expense of human or planetary well-being, but alongside them. And this is where modern leadership must evolve. We must evolve from being guardians of balance sheets to being custodians of futures. It's a shift from leading for returns to leading for relevance, if I may say so, from legacy defined by accumulation to legacy defined by what is safeguarded. So this is from my side, Andrea, and over to you.
Thank you, Sanchita. So would you say that somehow we all that are more focusing on either on the sustainability, on the system thinking, the eco-civilization approach, are building some kind of the bridges because the leadership today do not understand what we try to say and what we have envisioned for the future. I'm now referring to the case that what we discussed, I think, in June, July, that in India, that you get the attention of the management on the particular topic. If they are not asked by the law, by some directive about the reporting, it is very difficult. So they are complying to the demands on the side of the sustainability reporting, climate change reporting, but the real change that usually starts with yourself and with your people, this is still what you're not getting the attention.
Absolutely bang on. Whatever you said, Andrea, is absolutely bang on, because this is what we discussed, as you said rightly. And you remember, this is exactly how it is happening. Can't comment on the rest of the world. But yes, India being one of the largest markets and home to the highest number of people on this planet. This is how the mindset is, and that needs a systemic shift. I am pretty sure that it's going to take a lot of time, but what we need right now is that consistent approach.
The sub question to that one, because from my European Western perspective, India is one of the most spiritual places on the earth. But still yet the situation is almost the same. How would you comment that?
Yes, but that is historically. So what is happening is, at that time, you're talking about spirituality wise. Yes, we are spiritual. But as you also know, when you talk about conflicts and polarization, and everybody is seeing that across the globe, when we are becoming like one global village, there are so many conflicts going on, people siding ways. And in this era where actually my dad says that whatever you need, whatever you read is actually not the pure information, it's the opinion. So what we do is we just read those few lines in the newspaper or, the news portals, and we form an opinion. And then we go by it. So coming back to spirituality, that is there. That's the backbone of our system, of our country, which, it's also fast eroding. And when I talk about these things, I always also say that these are the things that need to be preserved. Spirituality needs to be preserved, not the religion per se. What happens is when you start talking about the religion and, there is, this intersection that is created. And what is happening these days is people are getting mistaken by talking about religion. And then they say they are spiritual. So it's not spirituality. It comes from within. If I talk about my spiritual thing, probably we all here in the panel would be the same on that because it emanates from soul. Religion may be different, but soul-wise, we are connected. So when we talk about meditation, I think when I talk about that, I relate that to things that are related to soul, maybe meditation or even yoga, that connects you mentally. So that value system is actually very fast eroding in this part of the world as well. And that is also one worry. But then we do not have any absolute control on that. The only person we have control on is us. So, yeah.
Dear Sanchita, by all means, India becoming such a powerful, not only economical, also political force. I hope that many leaders we will see in the same consciousness and spiritual alignment as you are. So thank you for your contribution. I see that Sonja has a question, but at the end, I would also like to ask Alexander maybe for his reflection on the today talks. And if anybody else has any question, any comment, please come and ask. Yes, Sonja.
I just wanted to add something to very practical advices of Sanchita, that we also need to change the language that we use in leadership, also the titles. If I ask you how attractive the title Chief Executive Officer sounds to you, is this title inviting people to collaborate, to co-create, or is this title building walls? So that's why I suggest that we replace chief with custodian, as Sanchita also mentioned, and that we use other parts of titles that convey the inspiration, energy, enthusiasm, invitation. So this is my practical add-on.
Thank you. Very good point. Thank you, Sonja. Alexander, it would be our pleasure to hear your reflection of today's discussion. Violeta, can Alexander talk? Is he added?
Okay, sorry. Give me a second.
In this time, may I do one reflection on, as we were talking about that so many organizations are also focused on results. So talking the language of, if we want everybody to change, then it's also important to talk the language of profit and people and purpose. And the other day I heard Paul Polman speak. I probably know him from Unilever, the custodian executive officer used to be of Unilever. And research shows that it's a 20% higher turnover and profits. I looked at the notes when I heard him talk. So, and I think if we only say, hey, we need to talk from love, we will not have all the ears. But if we can show, if you make this change, then it will serve both purpose, both people, and the profit. So
thank you.
There's a lot of...
Alexander, hello.
Hi, thank you so much. I'll be brief, but I wanted just to say, brilliant. This is so needed. Thank you, Violetta, for putting all of this on and bringing all of this together. That's, I mean, you're showing the kind of leadership which we're all talking about here. And Andrea, thank you so much for coordinating all the wonderful conversation here. And each of you, this is what gives me hope. Because we are embodying and being the leaders that I think are what we need in the world today. So thank you for being and for engaging and for the words you shared. There's I mentioned just a couple of things. That my daughter, who is now in her mid-20s, she uses this expression which is quite common, I think, in her generation. She said, touch grass. And touch grass is a way of saying get real. But I like the way it's expressed because it means touch. I mean, if you think about it literally, it means, yeah, connect with the earth, connect with the what is alive, what is vital. Stop being in your head. Stop thinking all these thoughts. Touch grass. So it's a lovely reminder. I also, just picking up on the way Sonja began the whole business with this, for me, it's not about the problems. You know, if we look for problems, we'll find them. And when we problematize a life, that's a problem, sorry to say. But it's not about problematizing everything. And that's a real activity in business these days. We have to problematize the situation, and then we can find the solution. But life is not a problem to be solved. And people are not problems to be fixed. So then we come into the relational intelligence and all that you have been talking about today so brilliantly. So I think coming away from this problematizing is very important. And the last thing I'll say, just to add to this, is my friend Lawrence Bloom would say that the really good leader is the one who will ask in every decision point, what would love do? That's simple.
Mhm.
What would love do? And then listen for the heart's response, not for the head trying to figure it out, but just for that tropism, that leaning towards, I think it's in this direction. And then follow with the head. But it's heart speaking and then brainstorming. So thank you so much again for this wonderful session.
Thank you, Alexander, for these great words and reminding us on touching the grass that basically we cannot avoid, you know, if you in any circumstances, if we try to come to the real and authentic solutions. Is anybody else? Because I see somebody would like to raise something. There is Violetta, please.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you to all of you. And this was so exciting. I've been trying to catch up with you, but there were so many good ideas that I haven't got all of them, of course. But I got also intrigued right at the beginning when Alexander wrote this note, or actually comment. I'm particularly interested in the coevolution of human, artificial, and nature-based intelligence as a virtual cycle, and the leadership needed to foster it. And I would raise a question. What do you feel after all these discussions that the turning points are beyond love frequency, which we all already agree, to bring these three natures or three intelligence closer? As a summary or as a future question to be addressed in future discussions? And of course, Alexander, you're welcome to respond as well.
Can I respond as well also here? Because
I ask all of you because this, I thought, brought together everything we talked about today.
At experiment of systemic constellation of intelligences, we received the message that the intelligence of nature is included everywhere and is asking us not to complicate things. to simplify it.
Anybody else? Nate? Marina?
No, just wonderful. Wonderful hearing everyone. I must apologize. I do have an appointment in a little bit that I need to go for. So if I disappear, that's why. I just want to share my gratitude and appreciation for being part of this and getting to know each of you and your brilliant ideas better.
Thank you very much, Nate. Anybody else would like to comment on this? Also from the participants, everybody is welcome. So if not, Violeta, then this is food for thought. Also for the contribution to the books, which Marina, I think that you're expecting from all of us until when? Can you just share what is the deadline?
Well, usually we ask to contribute in a couple of weeks after the session. So if it is possible, please send us your writings. It will be highly appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I will ask Marina just to send to all participants in this panel also the instructions, maybe. So you will receive that. And if anybody wants chat notes, I can share that too. And of course, the video itself will be published. Thank you.
That would be very good. I would be interested to get the video because there are a lot of who are watching after that. And from my side, really thank you to all for also during the preparation phase. And thanks, Violeta, for providing and holding the space for this kind of the discussions. And maybe just on your side, the last words before we say goodbye.
Let's just keep out raising questions, listen each other, hold space for each other to evolve the thoughts that come and feelings that come. I think it's coming really the era of listening and deep, compassionate understanding of what is going on. And I had a sense that the new era of leadership will emerge out of this space that we are holding. So I feel great today. Thanks for all the comments. Especially, I'd like to especially thank also to all the participants, Alexander and John and Keith and all these that really made the discussion even more lively in the comments. So I hope that this is just the beginning of our continuous and Chris continuous discussion. And I see you at the next session, or I'll see you at the summit in January when Eco-Civilization Summit will also set the stage for the year 2026. And I'm sure it's going to be lots of exciting events coming based on collaboration with you as well. So thank you very much.